welcome to the second episode in the series, How to Avoid a Drift in Your Marriage. In the first episode, we talked about lack of communication being a cause for a drift. In this episode, I'll be talking to you on unmet expectation, which can be a silent saboteur because it does erode trust, intimacy, satisfaction over time. When couples have differing or unrealistic expectation about roles, responsibilities, behavior, this can lead to disappointments in each other. Resentment starts to creep in, and over time, disconnection starts to happen. If left unaddressed, unmet expectation can create a widening of gap between partners, creating, marital drift. Let me give you some examples of unmet expectations in marriage that can lead to drifting. The first thing is the division of household chores. I know, right? I'm not expecting you to have a 50-50 split in terms of household chores. But assuming unequal distribution of household tasks without clear communication or agreement can easily lead to a drift. One person is feeling well overworked, stressed out, while the other person is living their soft life, and resentment starts to happen. The second is emotional support. When you're expecting your partner to be intuitive, to understand and meet your emotional needs without explicit communication. They love you dearly, but they can't read your mind. So be clear on what you're expecting in terms of emotional support. The third is financial management. When you hold different view on spending and saving or financial goals without clear understanding and mutual respect on this can lead to a drift. It could be because you have a budget and one person is not sticking to it. I think I mentioned before that we have a budget in my marriage, in my household, but sometimes my husband doesn't stick to it because the children might ask him for something extra. He'll go and buy that. I'm like, no, we have a budget. I understand why he does it. We have to be flexible. But being clear on budgeting is also quite important. The fourth is quality time. Desiring to have quality time together, there's nothing wrong in that. You need to prioritize your quality time with your spouse. It helps individual to know that they're connected to their spouse. And it also helps you guys to shut out external pressure because you're focusing on your relationship in your quality time. This is where your date night comes in. Holiday together. As a couple, we take time out, and our children are very clear on that. We take time out just to be with ourselves. Very important. The fifth is intimacy and affection. Expecting certain level of physical or emotional intimacy that may not align with your spouse's expectation, that can lead to a drift. One person might not be comfortable with the public show of affection, whilst the other person wants to be all over you, even when you're in public. It's important that you discuss and have an agreement on this in terms of your level of how comfortable you are with this. Let me give you some tips on how you can navigate this. So the first thing I'll say to you is communicate openly. Discuss expectation openly and honestly with your spouse, focusing on what you mutually agree on. You don't always have to agree on everything, but seek to see where do you agree and focus on that. A scripture that you can use in talking about this is in Proverbs 24:26. The second is set realistic expectation. Evaluate adjust your expectation as necessary. Align with both of you. Look at your capability. Look at the circumstances in your family at a given time. Look at your values again. It's important that you set realistic expectation. There's some things that your spouse will never be able to meet, in terms of your expectation. This is where you take it to God, because God can meet all your expectations. Look at Philippians 4:11 for further details on a scripture that you can use. The third is to practice empathy. Seek to understand your spouse's perspective. Empathize with their feelings, their needs, even if they differ from yours. They're not you. And that's the beauty of your relationship. You bring different things to the relationship. Proverbs 12:15 gives you a little bit more scripture to go on when you look at this. The fourth is prioritize open communication over assumptions. Clarify your expectation explicitly. Don't assume your spouse would know what you mean. It's important that you look at that. The last one I will talk about here as a tip is focus on appreciation. Express gratitude and appreciation for the efforts made by your spouse, even if it differs from yours. Okay, so let me give you a final scripture as we bring this to a close. And it's in Proverbs 16:9, where it says, in their human hearts plans let me say that again. In their hearts, human plans their course, but the Lord establishes their step. I hope you've had a few tips here and there that you can use going forward. And I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening.